Hello and welcome. This is Project Healing Waters, Fayetteville, North Carolina program. And today's fly is the red tag. This fly was February's fly, but we had to cancel the fly tying class for February due to a freak snowfall that we got here in Fayetteville. They're rare, but they do happen, and when they come through, they tend to wreak havoc on our non-prepared community. So this fly is now the March fly, along with another fly, which is the flashback pheasant tail. But we will start with this one first. The materials we're using is a FullingMill FM 5050 dry fly, size 16. For the body, we're going to be using Peacock Hurl, strung Peacock Hurl. For the tail tag in, we're using red ram's wool. To secure the Peacock Hurl, we're using small ultra wire, color copper. We're using 8/0 Vivus black thread. So let's get started. Put the hook into the vise. Make sure we're good in there. Okay. What we want to do is start the thread about an eye length behind the eye. And the reason we're doing this is we want to save some room for that hackle that we're going to be putting at the front of this fly. So let's remove the tag in. And we want to continue the thread about to the hook point. Here's where we want to grab our ram's wool or egg yarn. You can essentially use anything. You could probably go and buy some spinning yarn at the fabric store, and that would work. But we just want to get a small little piece like this, and we want to pinch it and make sure that it's flush. So we want to come through and we want to cut a piece in, and we want it to be like that so we can tie it in. So now let's take it and put it on top of the hook shank. See if I can slide that down without making a mess, or pull it through. And it looks like I got it. So I'm just going to wrap that forward to secure it, and then we're going to bring it back. And you're going to pull some fibers out. And let's bring it to the back of the bend of the hook. Like so. I may have pulled too much out. No, I think that's going to work. Next, what we want to do is we want to grab our wire. I've cut these down to lengths for the course, so I'm using the spares that I have. And we want to just bring the wraps forward and secure the wire. And you can see what I'm doing here is I'm kind of building up this back end. So let's go ahead and taper it down, and let's bring it back to the ending point. And now we want to grab our Peacock Hurl. And for this I'm using 2 strands, but if you're pulling a new strand, I'm using extras from the ties that I've been flying. But if you pull a new strand, you want to remove the white section off of this Peacock Hurl and tie it in then. Like I said, I'm using extra that I had laying around. And we are going to tie that in and secure it at the butt end, bring it back, and then we're just going to bring our wraps forward to our starting point. Make sure it's, you don't have to do touching wraps, but you want to make sure that that hurls down pretty good. From here, we're going to take our Peacock Hurl and get a red fiber poking through. Anyway, we'll remove that later. And I'm going to twist this so I can get these strands to work together. And essentially, be careful of the bend of the point of the hook, and you want to work it around that. And we're just going to bring this forward, nice and slow, and take your time. If you hit that hook point, you're most likely going to break your Peacock Hurl, and then you'll have to untie it and put another strand in, or 2 strands. So let's just bring this all the way up to our thread point right there, and we want to leave a little, remember, we want to leave a little room for the hackle, and I think we just have exactly enough room for that. So once we get the Peacock Hurl secure, let's bring it back a little bit. Some people like to rip it out. I like to cut it, just to make sure it's not being completely ripped out. Forcing on that and on the hook, it's a very it'll bend on you really good. So I just like to cut it off. So now let's grab our copper wire, and we're going to go in the opposite direction. And what this does is this will prolong the life of our Peacock Hurl. If you don't do this, then most likely you're only going to get 1 or 2 catches out of this fly, because the trout will just tear the Peacock Hurl off the shank of the hook. So we're just going to do before and after wraps just to secure it in, and then we're going to helicopter the copper wire off. So here's a good time to come in and cut your tag in your tail to length, and you can do it any size you want. I just like to do it just a little bit so that tag in will look good. Now what we want to do is grab our cock feather, and what we want to do is we want to measure the fibers from the shank of the hook to the point of the hook, and essentially we just want it to pass just a little bit. So I think I found my spot, and I'm going to stroke them backwards and just going to remove some fibers to where I can salvage the remaining portion of this hackle at a later date. You just come in here with your scissors and snip the stem. And then we've got a little stem to wake. I'm just going to pull that out. I see that's going to bother me. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to tie in our stem and bring it back a couple wraps just to make sure it's nice and secure. And from there I'm just going to bring it forward. Nope, I don't think I tied it in. Definitely got it there. And just be sure not to wrap over the eye of the hook. So I'm going to grab my favorite tool, which is the Hackle pliers, and then we're just going to wrap forward. Let's see if I can get that to straighten up for me. There we go. And just take your time. And just bring the wraps, touching wraps forward. And you can see how that's starting to look really, really buggy. And it broke on me. Okay. That's why I love these tools, because they work so well. I guess maybe if I bought some better hackle pliers that were easier to work would help too. But I'm on a budget. My wife keeps me on one, and then when I buy too much fly tying stuff, she gets a little bothered. But it is what it is. You could wet your fingers and push these fibers back as well, but that's not that big of a deal because we can just cut what we really don't want. And I think I'm going to stop there before I get way in over my head and start losing my work. So I'm just going to put 2 wraps in, and then I'm going to remove the remaining hackle. And don't worry about the fibers if they start coming forward on you, because we can remove those or force them back. So I'm going to wet my fingers again and see what work I can bring back. And like I said, don't worry about it because we can remove the remaining later. And I can see that I have a couple sitting right there. Like that. And that's looking pretty good. I'm going to put a whip finish on it before I lose my work. And we just want to do 4 whip finishes. That's nice and secure. Remove our thread, and then we can come back and start trimming up the stuff that we don't like on it. You know, it looks pretty good. And there is our completed red tag. This is Project Healing Waters, Fayetteville, North Carolina. And we appreciate you visiting our page to view our flies. I don't claim to be the best fly tyer, but I do what I can for our vets to get them steered in the right direction to where they can be better at fly tying and get better than I would ever be. If you like what you've seen, we would appreciate the likes and shares. If you choose to follow us, we appreciate that as well. If you have any comments, you can leave them in the comment section. The material list will be in the comment section as well. This is Project Healing Waters, Fayetteville, North Carolina. We appreciate you watching. Thank you very much.